What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Gotham Season 3, Episode 4, New Day Rising. As I said in my last review, I apologize for getting all these reviews out so late. Really busy week, finally got to go watch all the episodes that I missed from this week. So, let's talk about this. Very interesting episode. I thought it really kept the story going while still building some intensity between some characters. So basically for this episode, you've got the continuation of Jervis Tetch trying to get his sister back. Gordon has brought her into the police precinct. So pretty much that's it. You got a little side story with Penguin becoming mayor that I feel like is going to be a bigger part of the story in the future. But for this episode, it's a bit more off to the side. So we'll talk about that first because it's the shortest story to talk about. Pretty much, Nigma sees Butch is paying off these city officials to win Cobblepot the election. And Nigma's just like, but you don't need to do that. These people like you well enough, even without doing all that. Which is actually kind of true. And the funny thing is that you would think, oh my gosh, why are people liking Cobblepot? He's a villain. But at the same time, he's done some stuff recently. And he's very clever in how he's done it, and the words that he chooses are very clever as well, to make himself look like the good guy, and the city officials look like they're lazy bums who aren't doing anything. And all of a sudden that's making him look like an obvious choice for mayor. And so Nigma sees that, because he's smarter than pretty much any of Penguin's other associates, and it's like, I'm going to use this, I'm going to actually get the money back from the officials, so that Penguin will see... well, Cobblepot, he's not really Penguin right now, but so that he'll see that people actually do want him as mayor. And so that's what he does. It's kind of an interesting little moment because I could see it coming. I mean, it was pretty obvious. Butch comes in and is like, he took all the money back from the city officials. He just lost you the election. And Penguin's like, tell me why I shouldn't kill you right now. And I'm just like, because you're about to win the election. Wait for it. Wait for it. And then he wins the election. It's just like, okay, I could see all that coming. But the characters in this episode, I think, are what make it work for me. Because if you see a cliche that you've seen done over and over and over again, yeah, it kind of gets a little bit old. But when you see a take on it that's actually interesting, when you see the characters that you're actually invested in going through this cliche, it kind of makes you forget that it's a cliche for a second. I think that's what made it work for me in this episode. And I mean, Penguin and Nigma together, just kind of a tag team made in heaven. I don't know what it is, but they're a little psychotic, but at the same time, you can see that they are very clever thinkers. The words that they choose are very well thought out, not mindless, just dribble coming out of their mouths. So, yeah, I think it's interesting to see where this is headed. Penguin makes Nigma his chief of staff whenever he becomes mayor. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen there. And it looks like that, like I said, it looks like that is going to be a bigger plot line as the season goes on. But the big plot line for this episode was Jervis Tetch coming back to get his sister, Alice. Gordon is still suffering from whatever Jervis did to him to mess up his mind. At one point he hears just the ticking on, like the clicking of a street crossing signal thing, whatever. I live out in the country. I don't know what these things are called. But he hears that sound, and now all of a sudden, all of Jervis's words start coming back into his head. Everything he said to him up there on the rooftop tried to make him kill himself, and so he tries to step out in front of a truck. But luckily, there's a Gothamite standing next to him that's nice enough to pull him out of the way. So yeah, I like how they did that. The camera work on it is very interesting. It's the editing is very, like, creepy, and I love how they did the mind control stuff in the show. So you've got him dealing with that. Meanwhile, Jervis hires pretty much Tweedledee and Tweedledum to come help him out. I actually think those are characters from the comics. I'm pretty sure those were characters, but I can't remember right now. So he hires like these wrestlers to come help him sack the precinct to go get his sister back. So he comes in. There's kind of an intense moment where Jim's not going to die, but at the same time, he's got Alice. Tetch brings out the watch, and you see Jim just like his hand starts shaking, and he starts putting the gun to his head. And it's just like, while I know he's not about to kill himself, at the same time, the look on his face as he goes to do it is just so creepy, and it was kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I got kind of choked up for a second. I'm like, Jim, stop! It was very, very intense, and then Barnes comes up from behind and knocks him out with his crutch, which was awesome. But we have kind of an interesting little turnabout at the end where he does get a chance to talk to Lee. You know, she kind of tells him, look, you know, moving on isn't the same thing as letting go. And I thought that's very powerful words that he can use. And so he does go through a moment where, you know, Tetch has got the clicking sound again, which I really wish they had done something where he, like, plugs up his ears so he can't hear the ticking. Like, that would have been, I guess it would have been a little too obvious, but I don't know. I guess in this, the way they did it, it makes Jim seem like he's figured some stuff out emotionally and psychologically that allows him to overcome it. And so he shoots the metronome that was clicking to silence it. And then what ensues then is something that I did not expect to happen this early. Alice tries to get away from Jervis, and then she falls and gets impaled on a spike. I knew she was going to die, because one of the things about Jervis Tetch in the future is he is obsessed with finding Alice. So I figured, yeah, his sister's name is Alice. She's probably going to die. That's going to set him off, and that's why he's going to become this way. So I knew that was going to happen, but at the same time, I was kind of like, this isn't going to be this early, right? Like, she's not going to die in the second episode. We're going to have a bit more of this storyline. We're going to have it. Nope, she's dead. Which also kind of sucks in that Jim was trying to help her, was trying to save her from Jervis, only for her to act, you know, Jervis wasn't about to kill her. He was just about to use her and her blood. Now she's dead. So it's like, it feels kind of like Jim failed in his mission. It was kind of, when you think about it like that, it's actually kind of sad. They didn't really touch on that enough, I don't think, how that can affect Jim, the fact that he didn't manage to save her. So anyway, so I really like all of these this whole storyline they had going, and how it's sort of going to affect later on, and just how it was handled. You know, it was very well done. Like I said, I thought the editing, the camera work, I thought was great. So I really do think this was a good episode. And then they kind of ended on a cliffhanger where you see a little bit frustrated with Barnes right now, because Barnes goes up, sees a pool of blood, and decides, hey, I'm going to look up. Where did that blood come from? And then the blood drops right into his eye, and then all of a sudden Alice's blood starts affecting him in some way. So there's that storyline, which I kind of feel a little bit bad for Barnes at the same time. You know, on the one hand, I'm frustrated. Like, why would you know there's infected blood. Why would you even risk going anywhere near infected blood? But you do anyway. But at the same time, I also feel bad for him, because it feels like he is generally a good cop, but he just can't catch a break. You know, gets was it shot or stabbed? I think he was stabbed by Gallivan last season. I can't remember what it was now, but you know, paralyzed one of his legs, so now he has to use a crutch. Now he's got infected with Alice's blood, so who knows what that's gonna do to him. It's kind of feel bad for the guy. Like, just want him to catch a break just once. Aside from that, though, I think the other thing that really helps this episode along is that I feel like these characters are working very well together. And that's something that can really affect the show. I think one of the problems the first season had was that it felt like you couldn't really get a connection to the characters because it was jumping around so much. You know, you're in Jim's story, now you're in Penguin's story, now you're in, you know, what's-her-face, Mooney's story, now you're in Harvey's story. It felt like it was just jumping from place to place. Didn't really ever give us time to connect with the characters or see the characters connecting with each other. Right now, we're getting a lot of that. We're seeing Jim connect with Barnes. I mean, the one talk he has with him, or it's just like, even though he doesn't like what he's doing right now, he almost feels like Jim's dad. You know, like, it feels like he wants him to be the best he can be, but at the same time, he has to be strict. He has to come down on him like he is the chief. You know, so it makes sense that, yeah, he's coming down hard on him. And I like the kind of father and son bond that they've formed there. So when he has that talk with him in the office, how he's just like, you can talk to me about anything. It really feels realistic. It feels like Barnes actually wants to help him. He just doesn't approve of what he's doing right now with the PI thing. So I like that. I like Jim and Lee. I feel like they've still got chemistry even though they're not together. Jim and Harvey have always had chemistry, and I always love whenever Harvey gets involved. And just the stuff with Bruce is, I guess I'll touch on that really fast. Probably should for the review's sake. That part I feel like is not as interesting now. I think it could be interesting later, but the whole like Bruce, his doppelganger guy going with Selena, helping her do stuff, and then Bruce goes and finds him, and I don't know. It just felt like it was kind of setting up story for later. Like I knew Selena was going to figure out that's not actually Bruce. I knew that he was not going to hurt Selena. I knew that he was probably going to end up leaving at some point. It just all seemed kind of playing out exactly how I pictured it. I don't know if maybe I just thought way too hard about it, but it felt like I see this coming. I see this coming. Oh, look, all this happened. Okay, time to move on. And then, of course, at the end, the people that made him, that ran Indian Hill, pick him up. So who knows what their plans are for him. But I guess, like I said, it is setting up story for later. It just didn't interest me in this episode with everything else going on that was more interesting. So, but yeah, I did like this episode. I think they've got a good story going. They've got the previews for next week look freaking incredible. And I didn't really ever talk about this in my first few reviews, but one of the good things about Gotham this season is that they've titled it Mad City. And you can really see what they mean by that. I mean, just from all the characters, from the monsters escaping, from from Tetch coming in, make Jim crazy. You've got just all this stuff going on. Now Penguin is mayor. I love how they've sort of got this vibe going of like, things are going crazy right now in Gotham. Like, the first season, Gotham was very dark. It was very grim. It was run by the mob. Second season, it was lighter. Things were starting to look up a bit. Things were starting to look better. And now this third season, it's like, you've got supervillains running around. You've got Penguin as mayor. You've got Barbara running a really popular club. And all this stuff is going on. And just, it is a mad city right now. That title fits it perfectly. So I really enjoy what they've got going this season. Can't wait to see more. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? What are you looking forward to next week? All that good stuff. We can talk about it, discuss. You know the deal. Leave a like and subscribe for future Gotham reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.